This module will provide instructional activities that allow for the examination of change and continuity over time through the analysis of primary source imagery. This module will consist of one activity that can be used to support the instruction of multiple elements of this standard. In this module, we will analyze images to examine change and continuity over time. To demonstrate our instructional activity, we will utilize World History Standard 21, Examine Change and Continuity in the World Since the 1960s. Time, continuity, and change is one of 8 social studies themes that aligns with the world history curriculum. The enduring understanding aligned with this theme states that while change occurs over time, there is continuity to the basic structure of society. The old expression, the more things change, the more they remain the same, is only partly true. While things have changed in certain aspects, they have also remained constant. When considering continuity and change, we ask, how are lives and conditions alike over time, and how have they changed? Why is this standard important? It provides opportunity to connect world events to relevance of student lives today. Primary sources are the raw materials of history. Primary sources are the original sources of information recorded at the time an event occurred. Primary sources can also be written or depicted well after events have occurred. Working with artifacts, speeches, photos, paintings, and documents build our students' ability to think like historians, political scientists, economists, and geographers. To complete this task, you will need images that depict continuity and change over time. Feel free to align the images to one or more elements of this standard. For this module, we will utilize images of Bosnia-Herzegovina from pre-1960, 1992, 1993, and today. With students, unpack each image. There are a variety of tools that can be used to engage in this work. In this module, we will use the Library of Congress document analysis template to analyze these images. The tool can be found at the Library of Congress webpage, loc.gov/teachers. The tool can be used to engage in a verbal discussion with students. The tool can also be assigned to students individually. Students can type responses and submit to you, the teacher, via email when completed. However, it is advised that this process be completed as a whole class discussion or as a small group discussion. Let's use the images from Bosnia to model this activity. Let's take a look at image number 1. When we analyze imagery, we want our students to stare at the image for approximately 30 seconds. This is the first step in our analysis. Next, we will ask students to make observations by identifying and noting details. If you have never used this activity with students, you may wish to set the stage for students by establishing norms for discussion. Our questioning begins by asking students, What do you notice? What do you notice that you didn't expect? And what do you notice that you can't explain? Once students make initial observations, we want to allow students the opportunity to reflect. The questions that you ask will be adapted based on the images that are selected. For this image, we might ask students, why do you think someone took this picture? What do you think was happening when this picture was taken? If someone took this picture today, what might be different? So we've given students an opportunity to make some observations and to be reflective. Now we want our students to ask questions or consider questions. The simplest question that we can ask our students is, what do you wonder about this picture? Hopefully, we can engage our students in conversation. An additional question might be, what questions would you ask the photographer? Let's take a look at image number 2. We will ask most of the questions that we asked when analyzing image number 1. In the observation stage, we will ask students, what do you notice? And what do you notice that you can't explain? We will ask students to be reflective. We will ask them, why do you think someone took this picture? We can begin our comparison to image number 1. So our questions may reflect a difference of opinion amongst our students. We might also ask students, what do you think has happened? Lastly, we want our students to ask additional questions or to ponder specific questions. What do you wonder about this image? Listen to student responses. Refer back to image 1 and have students compare and contrast the images side by side. You may want to have print copies available so students can truly dig into the image. Image number 3. We will still follow the Library of Congress image analysis protocol. However, by now, students should begin to make connections. We will not ask many questions. What do you notice will always be asked, because there are certainly changes in each image. We will also want to give students more opportunities to be reflective. But our question changes. What evidence do we see of change in continuity over time? Based on our work with images 1 and 2, students should be engaged and should be forming their own questions about what event possibly could have happened to cause this change over time. Still, with the bridge completely missing by 1993, the mountains in the background and the homes in the foreground have not seen much change to our naked eye. By the time we analyze image number 4, we will see evidence of continuity and change. We're still going to ask our students to make observations. They should be really engaged at this point. What might students notice? And what evidence do we see of change in continuity over time? The image is a little bit different. The location is the same, but the bridge has now been rebuilt to reflect the old Bosnia-Herzegovina of our pre-1960s picture. Now, if you are concerned about the seat time required to complete the analysis of 4 images, there are a few variations that can provide the same effect. Image number 1, have students view the projected image. Students will write everything that they see on a sticky note or on a 3x3 square. Then students will engage in the activity whip around, sit down. To do this, cluster students into groups of 3. Have all students stand up. Begin the whip around process. The youngest member of the group will share everything that he or she saw. The other group members listen carefully. If a student hears a response that he has on his sheet, he crosses it off. Once all of his responses have been said by classmates and they are checked off his list, he sits down. The whip around continues with those students who remain standing. Image number 2. Have students view the projected image. Students will answer the following questions. What has happened in this picture? Why might an artist capture this image? Then students will engage in the activity stand, share, sit. In groups of 3, students share their responses to each question. To begin, all group members stand up. The tallest person in the group will share his or her responses first. Then, the person to their right will share their response. The cycle continues until each group member has shared his or her response. When all group members have shared, students will sit down. This lets you, the teacher, know when to proceed with the 3rd image. Image number 3. Provide students with a print copy of the image. Students will discuss and complete the continuity and change over time chart. Students will engage in the activity stand up, lean in together. Provide students with a discussion question or prompt. Tell students to stand up and give students the following directions. With heads together, students will discuss the question or prompt. They will fill in the corresponding section on the worksheet as they're having the discussion. Finally, students will be prompted to make a prediction about image number 4. While standing up and leaning in together, the group will write their prediction for image number 4. Then, as a whole group, as image number 4 is displayed for students, students can analyze their prediction and whether or not they were correct. This makes for a great opportunity for whole group discussion. Once you have discussed each image with students, students will work independently to identify evidence of continuity and evidence of change in the wake of critical events such as the war in Bosnia. Students complete the graphic organizer to show evidence of continuity and change. Once students have completed the graphic organizer, it is important that students understand the impact of the war on the lives of those living in Bosnia today. Concluding thoughts. The activities shared in this module can be modified to meet the needs of all students. The activities shared in this module can also be adapted to fit other world history content standards. Remember to utilize Georgia Department of Education curriculum resources to support your work with students.